that mean they get a tax break because the town?
All right, Thomas. Great.
Well, no way. I'm not for that.
So enthusiastic.
They want to do
Yeah,
it.
I don't think that
Tommy, you take care of your own
God
business.
bless you. Tommy will take the mortgage back.
I guess that's worth $80,000 a year, huh?
Bullshit.
Is your preference one or the other?
This is what I want. You guys draw the plans, you guys do what you want. If you want to save the building, save them. If you don't, ship them.
Just coming back from the gym, are you?
I just don't want it left as a...
No, the worst, craftsman.
I don't want it.
Second job.
No, I don't need it. I want it cleaned up so it can be developed.
But this is all cutie. There's nothing here that's useful.
Okay. You know, before Dave Monaco died, he got his permission to put a road from that light down there. He gave me his permission, if the town wants it,
Where, here?
at the street light, he was gonna give us the land to go down and hook into the
Right
road
here.
going out the mill.
Right up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all mill property, isn't it? Always was.
No, Dave Monaco owned.
Oh, you mean on the plaza? Yeah, but there's a piece that doesn't belong to the plaza there, Steve.
He owns the land.
Okay.
He wanted to sell it to the town. He says, come on, Dave, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, he says, okay, if you want, I'll give it to you guys. And that was his plan, but he died of
Yeah, well,
cancer.
that would have made sense to come down here and connect this road.
Right,
And it
street
still
light.
does. It still does.
I'm sure his wife
I
would
stopped there for
honor
10 minutes,
his
Jay. It was too hot.
wishes if I went and saw her.
This is
It's not land that we want.
This is cutesy stuff, but it's fine to send it to them for suggestions, but that's meddling.
But, I mean, in the
It's
pool,
not our property.
the kids were in the water. They had all kinds of activities for the kids.
Yeah, so anyway.
I just think it's too hot, people didn't want to come out.
Nobody
For the
cares.
national, whatever
How
it's
many of them
called.
Isuzus around? There's gotta be.
I mean, I stopped, but I figured I
10,
had to
12,000
sit in the
of them
meeting and
probably
I really
registered in
didn't
the
want to
state
stay
of
outside
Connecticut.
too long.
They don't
Right,
even have
exactly.
a step for the cab. Radiator, fan, nothing.
Why would we go areas 1, 2, 3, 5, 4?
I don't know. And
You got the check registers?
I do.
Well, they're going well.
TOEW.
Yep, well, Dunkin' Donuts.
Do you get the next one for
What else? So the Jeep? The Jeep was just there and they,
Four cars, so everything we got. There's 4 other cars at that area before that.
wow. Yeah, no, I saw the Jeep with the mail up front and I was like, what did he do? Couldn't see anybody else.
It was back.
Yeah.
He pulled like the shit out of the bike. I think this is north. Cuts away the corner.
Okay, I'll call the Board of Selectmen meeting in order for Tuesday, August 1st, 2017. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Approval of the agenda.
Making a motion to approve the agenda as published.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Wow, Jesse.
Are we adding, or is it already on? Robert Mill Site remediation?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, thank
Already
you.
there.
I'm all set.
Okay. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd say parliamentary procedures, remember to be recognized before you speak. Approval, approval of July 18th regular meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the regular minute meeting Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. Tuesday is spelled wrong. I made a motion.
Yeah, Tuesday is spelled wrong, it's spelled Thursday.
I'll second that, but I have a correction.
That was a Thursday.
Was it a Thursday? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
What was it?
Not spelled wrong.
No, no problem. We're looking at approval, so.
No.
So I have a correction.
Yes.
On page 12, under the new business approval of tax refunds, the amount listed was $1,733.69 and should be $1,738.69.
Okay,
And I wouldn't think that that's a particularly big deal, but the treasurer's office asked that we correct that.
and to them, it's a big deal. And I
It
agree.
is.
Okay, are there any further corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Okay, communication, is there any communication? I have two pieces of communication. One was from Michelle Seraphin, and she was at the Albert Solnit Children's Center, North Campus. So that's a children's center, and she says the annual car show has been an East Windsor tradition for 21 years and brings the surrounding community together in support of our youth. Each year, we have been fortunate with a great turnout and many loyal repeat car presenters, families attending. We are glad that you were able to be part of this wonderful East Windsor community event. It raised $5,395, and these funds will provide many outside learning, socialization, and skill building opportunities for our youth. So they appreciate it and feel that we're part of the community, and they are too, so that's good. And the other communication I had is from our tax collector, Patty Grotofogel, and I'll read that. It says, a tax sale was conducted on June 29, 2017. There were a total of 10 properties up for sale. Prior to the sale date, 7 properties were paid in full. On the date of the sale, 2 properties were sold. One property the town has taken title of, 76 Depot Street. When the attorney returned to his office, the one property was redeemed at the exact same time of the sale. The other properties were redeemed in full with interest 1 day after the sale. I was pleased with the results of the tax sale, and the results of the tax sale gave the town $119,000, $642.39. And so basically, she put the properties up for sale, and people came through and paid their tax debt rather than have the property sold. But unfortunately, the people redeeming their properties at the tax sale had to pay the lawyers $3,000 to do it too. They had to pay legal fees, so it cost them a lot not to pay their taxes on time, basically. Any questions?
Yeah, is 76 Depot Capsia?
I don't know.
So there was a,
Could well be, yeah.
so I just wonder why, because that's an estate, or it's in, I thought it was in probate, so I was, anyway, I could be wrong about the address, but.
No, there is some legal ongoings that is holding up this sale, so it probably is. I don't know the details. Okay, no board and commission resignations or and appointments, so we'll go on to the 250th. We missed something. We missed public participation? You guys really want that? Well, okay.
Yes.
Oh, wait, Paul?
Wait a minute, he's got his hand up already?
Doesn't take long.
Okay, so at the last meeting, there was a discussion about the Scout Hall Pump Station and all the things that go with it, and there seemed to be some disparities of people's memories of what was said in the past and what took place, and on and on and on. I'm gonna hand out extracts of all the approved minutes which is our official record of what was said.
Thank you.
And that will also include, of course,
Are these all BOS minutes?
they are all BOS minutes, and they are extracted with their sightings, and they're all approved, including tonight. Also, what's included is the May 8th presentation I made as the results of what took place at the Public Works meeting, to help clarify for the future, because memories are good, but minutes are the legal reality. If you go to court for some silly reason, the judge looks at the minutes and he's not interested in what you think you heard. So I thought that might be useful for you. And I do have one question, which obviously you don't have to answer. But would the selectmen have any concerns over a pump station being, a full-size generator being put in at the Scout Hall without the town spending any money?
Personally, I probably we could vote on it, but
I'm not asking you to do anything. It's public participation, it's inappropriate.
yeah.
I'm throwing that out as a question. I don't necessarily expect an answer.
Well, and my question would be, would it also run the pump station, that generator?
Anything that runs the Scout Hall will run the pump station.
So can we talk a little about this?
Well,
We need to put
We
something
put
on
that as an
the
agenda item
agenda.
at the next meeting, and maybe have Paul explain a little bit
Right.
more at that point.
If you're gonna make a proposal, make the proposal, do it officially.
I will tell
Not a
you,
public
the
participation.
generator will be installed in September, one way or another, because there's no more time to talk. It's a legal requirement that the pump station have a generator. The statute's been provided to Mr. Maynard. So there's some electrical work going to be done for the pump station in September, and the pump station will have emergency power in some fashion in September.
And I'm gonna talk about this under my comments. We can't talk a little bit about it while you're talking about it.
we could add it as an agenda item. I would entertain a motion to add it as an agenda
And
item.
add it as an agenda item.
Is
So
there
I
a
wanna
second?
talk about it.
Is there a second to that?
I'm gonna talk about it tonight,
I
guys.
believe you are.
You know I am.
Next meeting.
I'm gonna talk about it tonight. We keep putting things off around here, and that is the problem in this town.
No.
We put it off, we can't make a decision. And I'm banging my head against the wall in this room to try to help get things done, and we can't get them done.
Seriously, Steve.
So why can't we discuss it for
I'll-
5
and-
minutes?
And you haven't been called on.
Pardon me.
5 minutes, that's all it needs.
I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Yeah.
I'd like to have this as an agenda item at the next meeting in case there is any supporting documentation we haven't had a chance to see. I'd like to be able to make an informed vote, which is why I'd rather not have this. I'd welcome the opportunity. It sounds like an enticing idea, but I would very much like to know specifics before we take any kind of action. And so I think it'd be great if Paul could come and we'd have an opportunity to review anything he may be able to provide ahead of time.
Okay.
I'm not looking for a
Okay, wait a
vote
minute,
to
Steve.
do
You
anything.
weren't recognized either.
Okay.
And I'll say to Jason that if we do add it to the agenda, we can talk about it. We don't have to make a motion at all during the discussion. And Paul could give us some information, so I don't see the in Dick.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jason. I mean, this thing, first it's on the table, then it's off the table, then it's a deal, then it's supposed to go to CIP like it should. Now they got some other funding or whatever. I definitely want to hear it, but I want it in my packet to study it. And I agree with Jason, it should be at the next meeting.
Okay.
I mean, we have procedures in town for funding these things, and they haven't been followed at all. Either we need to throw our procedures out and we'll just have a rabble here, or we need to follow them.
Further discussion?
Yeah.
Steve?
The town had agreed, we talked about putting up so much money for a generator to run the pump station. Okay? Now, there was something else that was discussed at one of their meetings, but I just wanted to bring it up. I'm not asking for a vote, I just want to put it out in the air for people to think about. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need Hawk's Lad here to make a decision for us or anybody else. Just something that I was told from one of the people that go to the Scout Hall meetings and told me what was discussed. I just wanted to throw it up in the air for people to think about. It's not about us spending money or anything else. I thought it was a hell of an idea. It would be a good idea. And they get the job done, get their air conditioning, get their pump station taken care of. It's a good idea if they do it. But you guys over here, you and you, who are two horses attached, you guys don't, I got the floor.
Look at an American.
All right, all right.
All right, I
Can't
got the
be civil.
floor. All right? I mean, we keep beating this stuff to death. So let's get it out in the open and talk about it a little bit. 5 minutes. But if you don't want to talk about it, fine, then we put it off another week.
Well, there's a little thing. It was talked to me a long time ago when I first got on the Board of Selectmen. Put it in writing, 4 corners count. Show me what's in writing. I don't want to hear hearsay. These free generators have been on the table, off the table, we got a deposit on them, this, that. I want it black and white. This is just circumventing procedures, and I don't think we should do it. The people in this town deserve the right to have things done and done properly, by whatever source.
So that we can't discuss
Oh, no, wait a
anything
minute,
here.
we gotta get called that.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
So we can't discuss anything here in front of the public then. There's an idea out on the table. It's a good idea if it works. Okay? But you don't want to talk about it. But why? It takes 5 or 10 minutes. We talk about BS stuff here all the time. Well, this has been an issue for a long time. Now, he says it's going to get done regardless, but it's going to be done HF, HA. I think everybody knows what that means. I can't say it. But maybe they're willing to do it right. And all we have to do is just put it in the air. It's not for a vote. It's not to spend money, like I said, or vote to take it and spend money. It's just something that one of the members told me what they talked about, and I thought it was a damn good idea if it could come true. And it would put everything to bed. And no more arguments and hashing things out. And that's the problem we have on this board. Nobody can get together and get the job done. That's it for me on the deal.
Okay, further discussion? All right, all those in favor of adding it to the agenda, say aye.
I would like to talk about it for 5 minutes,
All right, and all those opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
naturally.
all right. Any, see what your public participant, I'm just joking. It's great, thank you.
I would do it.
Further public participation? Yeah, Dick.
My name is Dick Sherman, 12 Allen Drive, and this is an update. Last Friday, July 28th, the American Heritage River Commission, together with Park and Rec Department, hosted a paddle and picnic. There were 16 boats, 19 paddlers. 6 other people joined us at the picnic. The event had us meet up with members of the Connecticut River Conservancy group out of Greenfield, Mass. Those members have been making stops along the Connecticut River from Lyme, New Hampshire, and they're headed for Essex, Connecticut. The one gentleman that's coming down that was part of that group, he had traveled that whole route of the Connecticut River over 20 years ago, and he was coming down again, and he's doing a documentary on it. That's why he was stopping on the way down. Their purpose was to bring attention to the great resource that the Connecticut River is. The town of East Windsor was praised for being the only town along the way that had an official commission that worked toward that goal. We picnicked at Volunteer Park, and they were all impressed by its location, cleanliness, and the layout with convenient parking. The thanks goes to Melissa Maltese. We had the use of the bathrooms at Osborne Field. So there was a group of people that have been on the river, you know they used it. The day ended with Selectman Dale Nelson, and I thank you personally, presenting a proclamation acknowledging the efforts of the AHRC, Park and Rec, and the Source to Sea members to bring focus on our efforts to bring good recreation to the members of the town and show off Volunteer Park as a great asset of East Windsor. And we thank Dale again for taking the time to represent the Board of Selectmen. Thank you again.
And this is a small token from the Connecticut River Conservancy. This water was taken at the beginning of the Connecticut River.
Third Connecticut Lake.
That's for you.
Well,
Basically,
I have a bottle of water here.
basically in Canada. And up there,
That water's pure up there.
that water is Class A water,
There you go.
and it comes down about 30 plus miles as Class A before it starts to get into,
So what color is this then? Blue?
huh?
Is this blue or yellow or?
No, that's
Clear.
super blue.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
No, it's a good time. Well
Yes.
organized.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I thank my cohorts.
Okay, further public participation. All right, before we get into unfinished business, I'll say that at 7:30, we're going to have to break for a town meeting. So keep that in mind. So the 250th anniversary. But I have something I'll set it up, you can talk.
Okay. Hello. We are still working on collecting money, slowly trickling in from businesses from our letters we have sent out to people, and that's about it for the money wise. And then we will be at the Historical Society Ice Cream Social on August 12th from 1 to 3, selling all of our merchandise, promoting all of our stuff, as well as the East Windsor, Images of America East Windsor book. Those will be available for sale, and they'll be signed by the author, Seal, and Jessica.
Yes.
So we will be there. That is our next stop. And then the following Saturday, the 19th, we will be at the 4-H fair, just on Saturday. It's 3 days long, but we are only going to be there on Saturday.
It's fair season already, huh?
I know. So we are getting ready for our float, and we got have sheets printed up of all of our tentative events that we have, so we're going to pass those out at the 4-H fair, and then after that the 4-Town fair, then any event that we're going to be at after that. I just got notice today that the Rotary Club is having their wine sampling tasting at Second Chance Farm on October 7th. So we will also have a table there as well.
And if you haven't been to Second Chance Farm, it's a great opportunity to get there, to see the farm.
Perfect location.
And the wine tasting last year
I
that
can
was
say
there
that's
for
something
Rotary
better.
was phenomenal. So keep that date open.
You know the time?
No, but I'll get it for you.
That's actually my seat.
Okay, and this is my slideshow.
Yes, that is our 24 by 24 yard sign of a corrugated, the hard corrugated plastic. It is, that particular one is only one side, but we're getting them going to be two-sided. So if you make a $50 donation or more, you can sign up to get one of these signs. We're going to get an order of them in the fall. So there are donation forms at the town hall, in the clerk's office, Broadbrook Library, and the Warehouse Point Library. And then wherever we will be, as always. So,
And also, Saturday, we painted something.
that was 2 Saturdays.
Tuesday,
That was 2 Saturdays ago.
2 Saturdays, so Congo's picking.
Yeah, we are gonna have another paint party at some point, just don't know when it's gonna be yet.
Yeah, and that's one, great.
Yeah.
That's Fran Neal painting. one of
Yeah,
them.
we had,
These are wooden signs.
Yeah, these are the wooden signs. We ordered 4 of them. We have 6 of them because some of them are test ones. So some of them are better than others quality-wise. So we painted all of them just so we have them. We didn't finish everything, but we made a good start. So we'll have another paint party at some point.
Yeah, but also, I don't know if you've talked to him, but Tom Szymanski.
I have sent him an email.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a response because that was this morning.
Okay. He said he'd like the athletic club golf tournament, which usually is about 130 participants, to be part of the 250th anniversary. He also said that he thought that there should be a sign in each of the 5 villages, and he seemed to indicate that he would pay for it, so, or the athletic club would, so.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to
follow
him
up.
about that
Yeah,
once I get
yeah.
the email back. So.
Do we own town property in each of the 5 villages? I think yes.
Yeah, I was thinking,
I want to say yes.
yeah, Windsorville,
Well, yeah,
Melrose,
next to Scantic
Stanton.
Church. Does the church own that?
The Scannick?
We could still use the historical
So,
society.
yes, yeah.
Nobody complained about the historical
Right.
society.
We have locations we could put them. That's,
That'd be a cool thing. I like
Yeah.
that idea.
and then the idea that was mentioned that we would have each of the villages written on each sign, so they're all different, so.
That would be nice, yeah.
Yeah,
neat.
but I talked to Ted about it, so. Good, figure it out. That's all I have, so. Cool, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the Broadbrick Mill Site remediation. And I do have some things to report. Lori Witten, myself, and Keith Yageloff went to the DECD, Department of Economic and Community Development, and talked to them for a half an hour about that grant to help refurbish the Broadbrick Mill. And I guess we're still in the running. They haven't gotten back to us, but they listened to us, so that was a good thing. And then this morning, someone from AECom called up, and her name was Emily Everett, and she was in the Historic Properties Division. And UTAS is applying for a permit involving the Army Corps of Engineers. So there's a federal statute that's called 106, and it requires that any permit that the federal government gets or grants that has to do with a historic site has to be reviewed by a commission called the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. And actually, I printed off some, so I'll pass it down. We don't have to look at it that closely, but so it's going to be reviewed, and that would require the public and some stakeholders to be involved. And she wanted to get in touch with Kurt Monstream, who's the chair of the Historical Commission. She wanted to get in touch with Mike Hunt, who's the head of the Historical Society in town, myself, Lori Witten, and maybe some other local people will be involved. So we're going to have a public participation fairly soon, I guess, and she's also sending out a package, and we should get it tomorrow. So we'll see what that involves. And go ahead.
Just about.
Okay, all right. It's probably a good time.
Point to, or you got more point to make, or you want to do it now?
I think it's a good time to break.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we take a recess to have the town meeting.
I'll second that.
We need a recording secretary.
We
And
have one.
is Amanda here?
No, she's in the hall.
Okay. I'm sorry, Amy. Okay.
Okay.
I want to make sure that recorder's still working because
Vote,
last...
Bob? Vote. Motion and second, and you need a vote.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
Good, thanks.
If you guys can just bear with me and go a little slow, because this is my first time by myself, so.
Okay, well, we had one reason we thought it'd be a good meeting for her to do is we only have one item. So, sale of property. Who would like to read the item? All right. I call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is to elect a moderator. Have any nominations?
Make a motion to elect Bob Maynard, moderator.
Okay.
Los, Richard P. Pepper.
Okay.
Okay, that's right. So,
Yep, and
Bill
Bill
Los.
Lowe's.
William Maynard.
Make a motion to close nominations.
okay.
All those,
Second.
any discussion?
Dale and Rebecca, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting there. Okay.
And
A vote.
vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we close the nominations now. All those in favor of Bob Maynard for moderator?
Aye.
Okay, I'll be the moderator. Now I'll ask the town clerk to read the meeting notice.
Oh, sure. Town of East Windsor Public Town Notice. Town meeting notice. The legal voters of the town of East Windsor are hereby warned that a town meeting will be held at the Town Hall, 11 Rise Street, Broadbrook, Connecticut, on Tuesday, August 1st at 7:30 p.m. for the following. Item 1, to consider and approve the sale of 4.42 acres on Winkler Road, map block lot 94-24-66 to Michael and Lisa Piccoli in the amount of $27,000, dated at East Windsor, Connecticut, this 25th day of July, 2017. East Windsor Board of Selectmen, Robert Maynard, First Selectman, Richard P. Pippin Jr., Deputy First Selectman, Jason Bauza, Selectman, Steve Dearborn, Selectman.
Thank you. And now I'll read the...
Oh. Well, it's not on there, but Dale Nelson's
Oh,
Selectman.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't put it in the
Can you make the paper?
Sorry.
You don't make the paper.
No, fine by me. One less meeting I'll have to attend.
Well, you're here now, so.
I know.
Let's see who's eligible to vote. And that would be, at any town meeting other than a regular or special town election, or any meeting of any fire, sewer, or school district, or any other municipal subdivision of any town incorporated by a special act, any person who is elector of such town may vote, and any citizen of the United States of age 18 years or more who jointly severally is liable to the town, district, or subdivision for taxes assessed against them on an assessment not less than $1,000 on the last completed grand list of such town, distinct, or subdivision, or who would be liable if not entitled to exemption under Connecticut State Statute subdivision 17, 19, 22, 23, 25, 26 of section 1281 may vote unless restricted by provisions of any special act relating to such town, district, or subdivision. Okay, would you read the resolution, please?
To consider and approve the sale of 4.42 acres on Winkler Road, map lot 94/24/66 to Michael and Lisa Piccoli in the amount of $27,000. I move the foregoing resolution be adopted.
I'll second that, Bill Lewis.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that.
Make a motion, meeting be adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Good job.
See, you didn't include her in the paper and she left.
Yeah.
What's that?
You didn't include her in the paper and she left.
She made a run for it.
Had to get a refill.
Thank you, good to stay for the meeting.
Yeah, it's okay. You're in luck, huh?
Okay, do we need a motion to resume the meeting?
No, you just call it back to order.
Call the meeting back to order. On your chairs when you came in, Lori Whitten left a write-up on the Broadbrook Mill site, and I know at the last meeting, Dick wanted to make a motion about how to break up the land, so to speak. And if you want to do that, she kind of laid out the different areas and the percentage. She felt that area 1, which is where the Broadbrook Mill is feasible to be preserved, and if not, would prefer the mill be removed and the site remain for new construction, a location away from the brook. That would be about 10 to 15% of the area. Area 2, the existing access drive would remain, and possible strip mall for exiting. Parking should be designated along both sides. Dedicated strip mall used for Broadbrook Village parking. And that would be 15 to 20%. The area south of the proposed parking lot would be for new buildings, a patio sitting area, and that'd be 20 to 30%. And then area 5 would be used as an amphitheater, that'd be 20 to 30%. And area 4 of the site would be green in use for playgrounds, picnic areas, ball fields, and similar things. So if we want to make a general motion as to how we'd like to see the percentage of the ground broken up, we could do that. Is there any discussion? Dick?
Well, like I made my motion the last meeting and went over like a lead balloon, but really most of the area along Mill Street, what isn't floodplain, could certainly be developed as commercial. And it would be an awful shame to waste it.
You're right.
That's why I came up with a roughly 50% figure. I didn't want to, this is a beautiful plan, but it's not our property. This is a great suggestion, and we should definitely send it in, but it's only one person's vision on this, and They may have somebody that wants to buy this property and put up stores or a small factory, who knows? It was an industrial site before, and I think they should have the option of doing that.
Well, let me just say that that green part is what you call the floodplain, so that can't be built on.
Okay, well, it's still roughly 50% of the site.
You're right.
Which is basically what I said, and the amphitheater, of course, in the park is permitted in the floodplain.
What UTAS would like to do is just cap the whole thing with 18 inches of dirt and walk away.
I'm not for that at all.
Jason.
So I think this does represent a pretty substantial step towards meeting the opportunity that we have to kind of opine on the plan that has been submitted by AECom. I think this actually is a very forward-thinking proposal. I do have a couple of questions though. One is on kind of the style and the submission. If we decide to move forward with this particular proposal, we obviously we would do it like on a GIS presentation, I would hope, not with just colored markers.
Well, I think if we're going to move forward, I think the first thing to do is talk to Maurice Hamill and Bill Penn and show them something like this, because to see what they're thinking, and then if they say go ahead and make a GIS or even more detailed, I would like to know what they're thinking before we go do something too extensive.
So just for those who may not be familiar, the process is that there's a remediation plan that has been submitted, and there's a public comment phase, which is what we're in now. So we don't need to ask anybody's permission to submit comments on behalf of the town, and that was the whole point of revisiting this.
Okay.
And I like and I forgive my lack of zoning parlance here, but the multifaceted uses that are incorporated into the property make a lot of sense. But again, I just want to make sure that we're putting something forward that actually is representative of professionalism.
We can certainly do that. We can use GIS and make it. In fact, I think the underlaying is GIS, but you're right. She put markers on and did it today for us. And
the question of substance that I have has to do with what we'll call parcel 1, which is the former condominium building. When the Permanent Building Commission visited that, what was their suggestion on the future use of that particular building?
When they visited it, they felt that it would take a lot of money to remediate that building. And they felt that the town didn't have the money, and nobody would come forward with the money, so they said, tear it down. Maybe we have some sources. We'll see what this historic preservation group says. Maybe the grant would allow it to do that. And it's going to cost UTAS a lot of money just to tear it down because it is historic. So they have a pool of money that they could use for many things, and if it doesn't cost them any more money to tear it down or to put it into a pot with some other money to at least repair the roof and pull out the mold and make it into something, then they might consider that. So,
is that all it would take to bring that building back to a level of functionality, is mold remediation and a new roof?
Then you'd have an empty shell. And that building, if you look at it, there's the main building. That's fairly sound, but there's buildings to the attached buildings really to the right, and those would have to be torn down. What happens to the other buildings that surround it is up in the air too.
So in terms of the substance, that's the only thing that I would kind of raise a question mark about, is whether we want to even suggest to them. I mean, if it costs, and I don't know anything about the costs associated with this, but if for example, it was twice as expensive to keep the building than it was to take it down, but we could get it back into some sort of commercial use and therefore in a more substantial way like the grand list, that's something that I would be interested in.
Right now, I don't see that building contributing substantially to the grand list. So the question really comes down to, do you want to save the building or not? Maybe if the area 3, you might be able to get some, grand list contribution, but I don't think you can get it from the condo. Go ahead.
Even area 2, I think, could be developed commercially without,
Well, that's true.
A lot of the bad areas are over in 4 and touching into 2. 3 is relatively clean if you look at the map.
About half of it, I think, is clean.
Yeah.
Because it's uphill?
Yeah, it's uphill too.
Well, no, it's clean. It's just clean because they didn't dump coal ash there.
There's some there, but it's not as much.
No, not towards the Mill Street, they didn't dump it. They just kind of
And
dumped
this
it behind the church.
I just hate to lose property in the center of town.
Yeah.
Once you cap it, basically, what's it gonna be, a parking lot or a ball field?
That's
or
true. You're
Who
absolutely
knows?
right.
It's too valuable a land to do that to.
Okay.
I think that my original motion was probably just about right. Approximately 50% of it should be.
Yeah, and if you want to make it something like 35 to 55%, something like that, so you're not really exact
I
about
mean,
it.
this is something good to hand them, but, do they have to follow it? No.
No,
It's
they
not
do
cast in
not
stone.
have to
No.
vote. This is purely
Their
our
property.
opportunity to weigh in and project to DEEP what we would like to see possible there in the future.
Like I said, I would like to see it remediated to the point that it can be reused, not just capped.
Sorry.
There's more to it, but once we lose and they cap it, it's gone forever. Just like the farmland, once you put a building on it, forget it.
So number 5 is supposed to be wetlands.
5
Flood-
and
Flood area.
Flood area, not
Yeah.
wetlands.
Okay, now number 4 doesn't flood, obviously.
Well, to
Yeah,
some
some
degree
of
it
it
does,
does.
yeah.
Does it flood?
They've got federal,
Yes.
they've got federal flood maps of all this and with guidelines available through the USGS. And I'm sure they could be plotted on here.
I don't think they would have put a powerhouse in a
Well,
flood.
Well, yeah, but they would have back then. There was no regulations.
I've never seen that flooded.
Well, that
As a
could be.
kid going there and
And the
swimming
dam,
at that dam.
and the dam mysteriously has kind of disappeared.
It's all over.
So
isn't it?
that's lowered the water table even more. It's breached is what they did. So that water isn't all backed up. It's got to help. But there is USGS
Yeah.
data on all this, and that can be amended too. If you can file against that and change it, because we did that on a business in Manchester. We proved that the map was wrong.
So with this here, we're gonna own it.
No, this is what we'd like
all
to
these
see.
ball fields and all that stuff, if we ran with this.
I don't know if we own it. That's a
Who's gonna
question.
own it? No one's gonna take that land and
Yeah.
have this kind of stuff on it if they can't make any money with it.
Well, that's true, but if we had commercial area there, they would own that property. I will have to talk to UTAS. UTAS could end up owning it. If we say we don't want it, then they have to own it. And they might cap it.
They can send it to a developer too. I mean, they can sell it to somebody that can do
Right,
something with it.
as
Maybe-
long as, and that would come into remediation. If they just cap it, it would be tough to build on that.
Yeah.
But if they make it, while they're capping it, make areas where buildings can be put, it would make it easier to build on.
If this was in any other town, it wouldn't even be an argument about digging it out and sending it to the burn plant, cleaning it up, and then use it for landfill cover. Okay? If this was in South Windsor or any other town, there would be no issue. They would just come in and do what they got to do the right way. For some reason, East Windsor always has a problem when it comes to dealing with the state and cleanup and anybody else. Why do we have this problem? I don't know. This is my opinion. I'm not gonna say another word about this because we beat this to death. We shouldn't own it. We should make them clean it up so that every part that isn't in a floodplain can be built on, okay, for a business so that we can get some tax revenue here. Okay, we're not in the land business. Okay, so let someone else take it and build it and pay this town taxes. But they
Okay.
gotta clean it up the right way.
And when,
And we're talking too nice to these people. That's our problem, we talk too nice.
Can I throw something?
That's it, I'm not
Okay.
saying another word about this.
Just a chat.
You guys do what you want with it.
We can
That's
make
all I can say. I'm not gonna bang my head against the wall.
You banging? Okay. I come up with this as to remediate the mill site east of the access road to the point of being usable for future commercial development, not capped. Let it go with that.
That's a good phrase
Okay.
to incorporate.
And that basically areas 1, 2, and 3, it's inclusive, and that's the end of it.
the thing about not capped, I think you might do partial capping, in a sense, the areas that aren't going to be,
We want it to be more fully remediated, is what he's trying to get to.
Right.
Not just capped at that place.
not just capped, okay. well,
And it comes down to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I'll go with that motion.
They may be able to, cap that part that she's got marked for access and parking.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see that site so we can have something feasible
Right.
and for future in this town.
Sounds good to me.
And I think that's what this does. I think that the intention is to maximize the future utility of the property. And we're giving them a roadmap. We're saying, these are some of the things we'd like to see there.
Right.
They may very well say, well, DEEP may say, yes, we're going to incorporate those into the final remediation plan. And UTAS may say, yeah, that's fine, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do part of that, but not the other thing. But at least we're putting forward our intention to have a future purpose for that property. And that's, again, coming back to the conversation I had with Mr. Hamill, all we're trying to do is indicate to them that we have some thoughts about what that might someday be. And I think that this very clearly does that. And I would actually like to see Dick's language incorporated into our, I don't know if it's technically testimony or what, but whatever submission we send to DEEP, whatever comments we submit.
I can make that a motion. Did you get it, Peggy?
I think so.
Okay, because I got it written here if you want it. Well, I will make that a motion.
Go ahead.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Sounds like a plan.
Had plenty.
All right.
Ready?
But just for clarity, we're going to submit this with GIS maps and incorporate Dick's comment into the submission.
Yes.
That's the motion, right?
Okay. Well, no, that's not the motion.
May I amend the motion to have that be the motion?
That's
All right,
submit, Lori? Sure.
Could you?
You
Yeah,
want me to include it?
No, I just second the amendment, you're good.
Okay, we'll make it.
I did.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right. Further discussion.
No.
And I don't know if Peg has that motion.
I've got most of it.
Got that?
This plus Dick's comments to be submitted to DEEP.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
No, that's on the
Unanimous.
motion, on the amendment, right?
Yes,
You got to vote the
on the
motion
motion.
to,
Oh, okay. And
as amended.
and the motion as amended?
Okay. that was
Steve
just-
said yes. Everyone said yes.
That vote is on the, to amend the motion.
All right. And now a vote on the amended motion.
Aye.
Why don't you toss that down?
Steve says
So
yes.
she's got it.
Okay.
Yay.
Hey,
South Road.
the mayor's here.
First string too.
Okay, South Road, that's yours. Well, in a sense, that's your baby.
That's your whole road.
I got some pictures.
Oh, more show and tell.
Now, South Road. And this is South Road before. This is number 2 of South Road. And this is where that ends. This is where, interesting enough, up here, when the oil tank failed, they put a 55-gallon drum in there. That's where she got the oil to her house all winter. And it also had some remediation that had to be done on the side of the house.
It's on the side opposite the,
The oil tank was here.
Yeah.
Now, here's her backyard today.
Wow.
So it's filled in. And I guess there's pipes to aerate it underneath the foundation. And this is the containment vessel that failed. And right down here, if you look here, that's a plug. But really, actually, what's in most of those containment vessels is a spout that comes out through the kind of a valve. You turn it off and on to drain the water out. This one didn't even have one broken off. So that's fixed. But now, I'd say before we leave the topic, and maybe I'll even not bring it up every selectmen's meeting, but we know we have problems in South Road, and it would be nice if it was owned by somebody else. There's sewer problems, and there's this problem, and rent problems, and tree problems. So I'd like to just go around the table and just ask if anybody sees a solution. And I'll start with you, Dick. What do you think?
I think maybe we should look into the legal aspects of getting the variances needed, accepting the road, and allowing the people to buy the property the house is sitting on. That would be the best thing for everybody. The houses would be worth more. They would have to take care of them themselves, but I'm sure they're capable. It's a unique situation that it's basically the same thing, well, similar to a mobile home park, except these houses really aren't mobile. I would like to see us do what we can do to get these people to be homeowners with the property they're living on theirs.
Steve, any thoughts?
Well, we said, give them the land. Be done with it.
Okay, Jason?
I think the property ought to be turned over to a nonprofit that specializes in affordable housing, which is what the deed restrictions on the property say needs to happen to it. I also think that they ought to look into possibly forming such a nonprofit.
I thought of that too.
Good idea.
Great minds think alike.
You've seen the deeds?
Yeah.
You've seen
Oh,
all?
have you looked at the deeds?
We've seen it in the past. It was, back when Brian Kirsch did the initial search several years ago. About 4 years ago? 5 years
That
ago?
I'd like to see, because that would be your only answer then.
Okay, and Dale?
Looking at what the consent would be for the restricted covenant, I think Jason's got it right, because it needs to go to a nonprofit. So if they ended up doing their own nonprofit, then we could absolutely give them the land. I'm all for that.
Okay.
Chime in at this point? Or?
Sure, yeah, I think it's your baby. I'd love to hear you.
Okay, one of the things was, after the last meeting, I looked at the minutes online, and I wasn't even aware of the letter from the lawyers. So I read that, and if you do read that letter, he doesn't say it's impossible for us to get the land based on what's being said. Basically, it has to stay a low to moderate income property. He was saying, my understanding of it, if you were to divide the land, or there are lines there are legal lines, they're on the warranty deed of every house. If you were to do that and take control of the road in the center, that as long as we have a restriction that it has to be sold only to moderate, low and moderate income, that we'd be okay. This way here, you'd be collecting taxes off the land instead of, as it is right now, you're supposed to be collecting rent, which to me is another tax of $720 a year. And half the people, I don't know who aren't paying. So I think it's be a win-win situation if it, you know, or even I was trying to research this, I'm not the best researcher, and it almost sounded like if you spoke to Connecticut Department of Housing, if the town has enough percentage of low to moderate income housing, that they could release that from being restricted. I mean, in my opinion, my biggest problem is this land lease. It's a joke. And even if, you know, just to get that to somehow go away, but that's say low to moderate income, it's not really a big deal. It's, the houses will still be worth more. I don't know if anybody's ever looked at the guidelines, but if I read it right online, low to moderate income right now is a family of two, a husband and wife, whatever, of over $50,000 a year, and they're eligible to buy a house over $300,000. So them houses are never going to be worth that kind of money, so.
Yeah, okay, I think, thanks, and I think you're right, and I think hearing what the selectmen say, I think we can
I mean,
move
the way it
forward.
sits right now is, you know, you're collecting rent, but we have no $10,000 oil spill. Like
Yeah.
you say, you got the trees.
It's a liability we
You know,
really don't
the
want.
sewer lines is another thing. That's something that, like I had suggested, maybe go for a grant to get them repaired, which I don't see why that couldn't happen. But,
Maybe, yeah.
the town's been doing the road for, you know, taking care of the road for 25 years. So it's not like it's anything different at this point. You know, like I say, if we had the land, we'd be paying the taxes on it. Whereas if you're going to another nonprofit, okay, now you're not getting no taxes on the land again. And no rent.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's no more discussion, and we'll move on to the next. And the next is the State of East Windsor, July 2017 report that I handed out last meeting. Are there any questions or comments? And actually, Dale, I didn't put blight on the agenda because it mentions blight in this report, so we can talk about blight now. And what I also did is talk to Rand Stanley, and he's going to come to the next meeting. I'm going to put him on the agenda because he's the central person that deals with blight right now in the town. And he, one comment he made, he doesn't think the blight ordinance is strong enough, and so he has a lot of thoughts on how we can improve the blight situation.
Windsor Locks did do some upgrades. They were having the same problem, and they have a blight officer. We don't have one here in town. They wanted police increased patrols in the area that they've been having issues with dumping. A large sign placed on the town property adjacent, warning against dumping and notifying dumpers of state-authorized civil penalties of up to $10,000. Eversource will be asked for better lighting. The health department will be consulted for assistance. So those are some of the things that Windsor Locks is doing right now to help with their blight issues. And there's no power where that dump site is there?
Well,
I mean, it's not like we can light it up.
you can light it up, and it's different from Windsor Locks,
Right.
where they were dumping in Windsor Locks. So, but we have cleaned it up. That's a start. So, and there is a big sign there that says no dumping. But I think we can put signs up there, and we can take more action to curtail the dumping there.
And, you know, notify dumpers of state-authorized civil penalties up to $10,000.
Yeah.
That would I hope, get somebody's attention. Don't dump it here if we don't want it.
Yeah.
Two comments.
Yes.
One, there is power there. Of course, you'd have to talk to Mr. Anderson, nice, and his commission, and lighting might do wonders, camera might do even more.
Yeah, I thought of a camera too, that might be
Just
a
even
nice
a
thing.
temporary one there would, let them be on candid camera. Along with that sign, like Dale says, with the amount of penalties, maybe we should have that sign posted there.
Yeah.
you know. The other thing Windsor did do is they removed all those donation
Yeah, the
cans.
donation.
And that's an idea, I gotta talk to, I believe that's the American Heritage River Commission.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find a better place to put that can. We'll look for it, we'll have to consider it.
A better lit place, yeah.
Yeah,
Move it to where it's.
people are really contributing, it's just for cans and bottles?
Yeah.
Just for cans and bottles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not, so you could put it in a convenient place and people would do that because they want to contribute to the River Commission, so,
That's a convenient place
That is a really good
for
place.
them.
yeah.
And somebody did pick up the trash.
Well, that was the town, it cost us at least $150 to do it. And it's, not our obligation, but we did it, yeah.
The people that go down there and check that thing from the water pollution had said that they could put a floodlight on the side of that. If they put a floodlight on the side of it, the guy said it was with the lady that was kind of running the show. She said that, or he said, he could put a bracket on it for a camera.
Yeah.
So, but there again, if it shows up there in the night, but if you got a floodlight there, I mean, they got a floodlight in the front. So,
Yeah, a camera would be a good idea. So we'll look into that. Okay, any further comments on the state of East Windsor?
The meetings that we've been having here regarding the transit-oriented development, I thought have been very good.
Yes.
It's opening up their eyes that it's not just Windsor lots that it's affecting, it's going to be East Windsor as well. I like the idea they're doing traffic studies, they're doing lots of different studies to make sure that we get our bang for our buck. We'll see what happens once they start having the discussions about the Rotary.
It's next.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
The other thing, state of the town and the JI tonight, the Senate voted to amend the casino
Yes.
agreement, which is something very important step forward. And now it's off to the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the next step.
45 days, they say.
Well, that's maximum they may want to take it. So it's stepping along.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. And first order is discussion of current and proposed personnel policies. I don't know if we have to take any actions tonight. I think we put them, at the prior meeting, we said that they would be approved by the Board of Selectmen and then sent probably to the attorney and go from there. And the Amanda said that the current policies, there's some aspects of that she feels should be updated, and it would be interesting to see her updates. The new policies are there, except the zero tolerance policy, which was the last one. She just put that in. That was suggested by the tax department, but Dick stopped by, and I totally agree with him, that we could make it more general. We shouldn't limit it to just a department. But July was tax collection month, and you can see that tax collectors sometimes take abuse.
Unfortunately.
But I agree with it should be just policy.
Yeah, instead of tax
Not
office,
just-
you could say town office, or, yeah. So I wouldn't consider that. The other ones, though, are, let's see, that was compensatory time, absenteeism, outside employment and adverse weather conditions, those are pretty well formulated. So you might, maybe at the next meeting, we could change or approve those or do whatever. But that's my suggestions. Jason?
So speaking just specifically to the new policies, or the proposed new policies, one of the things that I think we ought to be aiming for when putting policies in place is a level of consistency. So just for example, if you look at the policy on, or the proposed policy on compensatory time, the way that's outlined, there's the purpose, the scope, the procedure, the definitions, and the federal code and statutory references that are applicable.
Okay.
Then if you look at absenteeism, there's a 5-paragraph narrative, then a definitions section. And then if you look at the outside employment, there's a 3-paragraph narrative and references. So I think, and all of the guts are here. I think just if it were outlined in a standard way, using the compensatory time policy as a model, that becomes very easy for anybody to take a look at it and say, okay, what is the policy intended to do? What's it say? What's it based on? And how is it applied? I appreciate that these probably were not all drafted at the same time. Otherwise, I think there would be that consistency, because I'm not sure why you would deviate from that if they were drafted at the same time. But if they could be reworked so that they were in a standard format.
Sure. I think they can, but and that's, we can do that. If you look at the current policies, you realize that the new policies wouldn't be consistent with the current policies. I had to laugh when I saw the Town of East Windsor Computer Network acceptable use policy. That's so, but no reason why we can't make the new policies consistent.
And that also can then become a framework for any policies going forward, right. So that we'll get to a point in time, or maybe even revisit some of the standing policies where you get to say,
well, yeah, and we are going to do that.
Here's X, Y, and Z, all fits in a nice little box. All you have to do is cut out the section and insert the new language.
Yeah. Okay.
Super neat.
We'll take a look into that. Okay.
What I'd like to see too is some of these don't have any dates on them, whether they're effective dates that you want to put on the bottom of all of these, or some type of notification that they've been approved by the town meeting or approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Just as a means of either reviewing or approving these, and to Steve's point about not wanting to revisit things over and over again, maybe we could take 2 of them a meeting and have those be included in the packet with an understanding that we're going to be either amending or approving these 2 on that meeting. And then 2 weeks later, we're going to do the next 2.
Okay.
That way we can actually make some discernible progress and not have Steve have to hit his head against the wall.
I appreciate your taking Steve's well-being into account. Okay, further discussion on policies, personnel policies. Okay, Yosky Road.
Has anything been done since the last meeting? Has anybody gone out to 140 in Yosky Road and taken a look at the tree line
And the answer to your question is yes.
Good. Now you can tell me what came of that.
The gentleman who brought that to our attention in public participation was Lou Real, and he lives in the mansions, rental facilities, and he walked, and I didn't realize it, but there's an entrance or some kind of a tube for mansions right off of Yosky Road. So he met me up there, and the key is line of sight when you come out to Yosky Road, and especially if you're taking a left, because you have to look down on 140, and you have to, and the cars are coming awfully fast, and you have, and everything he said is correct. When I went down, by that time the state had actually trimmed a lot of that stuff, so there was but there's still there's signs there that indicate a sharp curve just a little toward west or toward Broadbrook from that, or I should say Rouse Point, and there were limbs covering that up. So I think the next thing to do is talk to Yosky, because that's his property, and say he's got a hedge there that reduces the sound of things. So we've got to trim that hedge a little bit on the roadside, but I think those will be the next steps. And he's also right about signs. We've got to limit the signs. You can't have signs interfering with that line of sight when you're looking for oncoming cars. So we'll have to do something there.
Yeah, it's really bad around election time.
Yes.
It's terrible around the corner.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees it's bad around election time.
Yeah.
Election time is coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. And what's our next? 70th anniversary of Southern Auto.
Southern Auto's already got a sign out front that says 70 years.
Okay.
But I'd like to see a plaque, not just something like this. I'd like to see a plaque. He's been such a good taxpayer and a good companion to the
Community
town.
citizen.
That I really would like to see something a little more than just,
Yeah, well, talk to me more about this. So
a wooden plaque.
where would we put the plaque?
We would give it to him.
Give it to him.
Give it to him. And would this be at some kind of a ceremony?
I would probably have him, ask him to come to a Board of Selectmen's meeting. It would be nice to, or we could go there, whatever. I mean,
Okay.
everybody works, so that's kind of hard to do. And, but toss it around. I mean, I really think that he deserves a recognition.
Okay. Actually, I haven't talked to him, but he said he's going to call me, so I'm glad you brought up what you're suggesting. Okay. Any further discussion on that?
Good idea.
Okay. Now, the town treasurer, and I know Bill Lose asked about the town treasurer. And at that, when I answered, I said, well, we might have one. Well, we don't have one. So basically, we're back to where we were 5 months ago. Tim Lord retired, or not retired, resigned March 1st. Went to Manchester, but if you look back at what happened in the last 5 months, I did learn some things. We interviewed about 5 people for the job. And the interview team consisted of Kim Lord and Patty Perry, who's the CFO of South Windsor, Geraldine Corso, myself, and Amanda. And of those 5, there was, in the first group we interviewed, there was one that I thought was pretty smart and probably could do the job, but she had no municipal experience, and that's a big deal. Just some of the things you have to think about, like when you're a municipal treasurer or CFO, has to know about pensions and other post-retirement benefits, and maybe I'm going to leave some out, payroll, insurance, health insurance, liability, salaries, contracts, budgets, bonding, credit ratings, funding, grants, debt service, revenue and expenditures, taxes, assessments, unemployment, lease, purchase stuff. So there's a great deal that they have to know, and they have to, knowing the contracts, all the contracts for the employees, and having dealt with all that for the town. And one thing that I would like to see, or at least like to investigate, is a self-insured. I think the town can self-insure for health insurance, and we could save a great deal of money doing that, probably $100,000 a year anyway, and other towns have done it. So we had a good team, and so like I said, one girl, or woman I thought could probably do the job, but she had no municipal experience. And the Kim Lord and Patty Perry said, well, we'd rate her like 80%. And then another one came in that had tremendous experience, and they thought she was fantastic and wanted to hire her. And so we actually made her an offer, and that's when I was saying that we might have her. And I'll read her letter after we made the offer.
So before you do that, I'm not sure that that particular person would want any identifying information disclosed due to her current employer.
Okay. She said, I want to thank you for the opportunity to interview as well as for the offer for the treasurer, financial director position in the town of East Windsor. Unfortunately, I cannot accept the position based on the offered salary at 35 hours per week. However, I would be willing to accept the position at the offered salary at 28 hours a week, 4-day work week with prorated benefits. Let me know if something, if this is, let me know if this is something that you would be interested in. And I discussed it with the Board of Selectmen, and they thought that wasn't something they wanted to go forward with. But what I did realize at that point, the reason I bring this all up, but we offered her.
You shouldn't disclose a number.
I'm gonna say it right now, $81,000 a year. And the reason I'm bringing that up, Jason, is I realize after this 5-month procedure, after interviewing these people, that for $81,000, we're not going to get a decent treasurer in this building for this town. So I would like to see if the Board of Selectmen, any people on this Board of Selectmen, when we go further and try to interview and talk to other candidates for treasurer, if we could possibly offer them more money. Kim Lord left. She was getting paid $87,000 a year by our town. She left to go to Manchester to get a $30,000 a year raise. If we're going to have a decent treasurer to do the things that she has to do, we have to offer them more than $81,000 a year. And so what I'd like to do is ask someone in this board to make a motion to pay the treasurer, who's an at-will employee, up to a certain amount based on qualifications. And I personally would like to see that be $95,000. If they're really good, they get 95. If they're not so good, they get 85. And we'd have a range to flex to attract good people. If it's $81,000, I don't even see why we're going out. I think we won't get much. There'll be a training session so we spend 3 years, 2 years, this person learning how to be a treasurer, and that would take our time. So that's what I say. How much are you guys willing to pay? And or I'll put it right in the ad. I'll say offering $81,000 a year, because I'm not going to waste my time and their time for nothing. That's where I'm coming from. Dale.
Have you contacted Linda Savitsky?
I have, and she has another job now.
Oh, she does?
Yeah.
Because I was just wondering if she had any ideas.
Well, I can talk to her about
just ideas that maybe we're not looking in the right places. I don't know.
You're not going to get somebody for $81,000. I'd say that's not what we want. You can get somebody right out of college, or maybe it's up to you guys.
At the next meeting, can you just give us a sheet of all the towns around us, what they're paying their treasurers?
Yeah.
We asked for that in April.
Yeah. CCM should have.
Do it again, please.
I will.
And then at the next meeting, we'll decide how much we're going to pay to
All right.
get somebody in here.
Well, we certainly can't compare East Windsor to Manchester either. Come on. They're entirely much larger.
Can I compare East Windsor to East Windsor 6 months ago? Yeah.
So shouldn't we, rather than include any type of a salary number in a job posting or an ad, use that as a negotiation point.
If not, if it's $81,000, there's no negotiation there, it's a joke.
So I'm not going to be comfortable settling on any number in public when that is something that is negotiable. And to be...
And I'm not gonna, if you guys are not gonna pay more than $81,000, I gotta know that.
I'm not saying that. But I'm not going to put a number, I'm not going to commit to a number without, sight unseen with an application. That's just
All
not...
right, so then that goes back to the procedure. So when we have that committee, search committee, and they agree on a candidate, then would the candidate have to come before you, and you could say no to the candidate? Is this board going to choose whether or not we employ the candidate?
We are the appointing authority.
All right. So then,
The number can be flexible, but the previous applicant was a little bit unflexible.
And did not have the requisite things that we were looking for.
She probably didn't have much over 80%.
Wow, gee.
So, you're not gonna get another Kim. So, no sense.
No sense what, Dick? You mean no
There's
sense?
no sense thinking
to
you're
do
not.
what?
You know, what are you gonna pay enough money and hire her back from Manchester? Where are we gonna get the money?
Money well spent. If you could bring a person in to save $100,000 a year on health insurance, she might be worth another $10,000. But I'll do just what you suggest. At the next meeting, I'll put it on the agenda and I'll bring the.
But I do agree with Jason. You shouldn't be airing the offers of a salaried position.
I'm going to. Well, like I say,
until the position is created and agreed upon, and then the public has the right to know.
Well, the public has the right to know we lost a very good person because we're not paying enough. And,
Whatever. It's your opinion.
Okay. We'll see how this goes for the next 5 months. Okay. Now, tax approval.
Oh,
It's always you, Dale.
I make a motion to approve the taxes in the amount of $3,198.76, dated 7/27/17.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Right.
Okay. Selectmen, comments and reports.
Well, I do have something to say. I attended that DOT meeting we had here about the train station development and what they think it's going to do for East Windsor. Personally, the stuff that they had lined up around here, I'd seen that stuff once before. I didn't think it was a good idea back then, what they were proposing. The only way things are going to get done in Warehouse Point, the way they think they can make things happen in Warehouse Point, is if you have the Chicago Great Fire and it burns that town, every building to the ground, and you start rebuilding it. Warehouse Point is not going to change. Well, we're going to put in sidewalks. Well, that's great. Dig up the old ones and put in a new one. Great. And they talked about the doing some stuff down Water Street. Putting a sidewalk down Water Street so that people can get to the river and everything on street. Then well, I'm not supposed to mention names, but the planning department had mentioned, well, if there's not enough room, we'll turn Water Street in maybe into a one-way street. Okay, another great idea. But I made it clear to everybody that was here, I spoke to all these young people. They have no clue what went on around here years ago. They're all young people. Nice people, but young people. They have no idea what went on. I made it clear that we don't want a Rotary in our town, because the only one that's going to benefit from the Rotary is going to be Windsor Locks. They talked about the foot traffic. Everybody thinks there's gonna be 1,000 people going back and forth across that bridge to get to that train station. Never gonna happen, okay? That's a pipe dream. And all the things they wanna do for East Windsor and this and that. Basically, all I see it as a buttering up for us to okay that traffic circle, okay? That's what I think. Now, I want to explain one thing. If you haven't seen the plans, they're going to put barriers in the middle of the road over there at the old Montgomery building, okay? Back in the 70s, these people that didn't know this, they didn't know. They didn't live here, they didn't know what went on over in that area. I used to deliver my tobacco into that building back in the 70s. There was another building that burnt down, okay? There was thousands of people that worked in that building, thousands of people. Dexter's was across the street the way it is today. The truck traffic came out of Dexter's back then the way it still does today, okay? With the apartments that they want to put in there, they will probably have maybe 25% of the people leaving that property in the morning to go to work, and 25% of the people that used to work there maybe coming home at night. So back then, you had thousands of people going to work in the morning, all at once, and at nighttime, leaving. I don't remember if they had night shifts there or not. I don't remember that part. So for them to say they need to do this roundabout and direct all the trucks to our town, which they will not do that roundabout, people. They're going to come around it and they're going to go straight up Bridge Street to 91 that way. That's how that traffic is going to flow. They're not going to go around, go back to Windsor Locks, to go over them tracks to make a left-hand turn to go to 91. So we're going to get this truck traffic out of this deal. So with the less people that are living on that site from what it used to be, they don't need to do what they're doing. Because back then there was no issues. I don't ever recall a truck ever getting into an accident over there with a train or anything else like it. Never ever heard of one. I know my sister drove my stepfather's car on the track and it got hit by a train and it put it in the lagoon there, right? That happened, yeah. Just for ha-ha, she went to the hospital, he was in the hospital for something. So she goes in, she goes, well, I washed your car today, right? But that happened. His car got hit and got pushed into the moat, right? So what they want to do, as far as I'm concerned, it's blowing smoke at us to make us feel good that they're going to do all this stuff. You can't do a thing until what's in Warehouse Point is all gone. There's not enough room to do it. Yeah, they can pave the road. Big deal, okay? Can't do anything else but pave it. Maybe put in new sidewalks. It's to make us feel good, okay? And the people aren't going to walk the Windsor Locks. Maybe the people coming up from New York or wherever they come up on the train and get off over there, they will probably walk over to East Windsor to do their drug dealing and whatever else. That's what I see, okay? I don't see East Windsor folks going over there to get on that train to go anywhere in the state of Connecticut. Don't see it. So I just made it clear. You do what you got to do to make East Windsor happy and look pretty. Like I said, no rotary in our town for those trucks. And that's all I got to talk about, I guess. That's a big deal in my opinion.
Okay. Jason?
I had a constituent recently approach me with an observation that is about the condition of the overgrowth at the Broadbrook Pond. I know the dam is slated for either repair or replacement, but they did kind of point out that things are getting a little heavy.
It's a little scruffy.
I was wondering if we could ask the DPW guys or whoever is actually responsible for maintaining that to go and kind of just knock it down.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I thought of that myself. other people.
Another good idea.
Well, but other people told me about that, and told me how it was many years ago. It was well maintained. So, and I think for our 250th anniversary, which is not far away, we got to dress up this town. And this woman, Pat Tracy talked about sunflowers. I don't know if that's, but it's not that bad an idea. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do to dress up this town.
So if you could
I will.
inquire about that, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
On July 19th, the pension board met. The town's investments continue to perform well with a 10.7% return on the year, which is 25 basis points up against the benchmark and 17 basis points against the benchmark since inception. That same night, the Board of Finance met and discussed ways to encourage the regionalization of services such as the senior center, tax collector, IT services, animal control officers, the school district, and others. I disagree with many of these ideas, some of them strongly, but I do think that the town should be thinking about ways to allow for us to realize economies where we can find them and to be preparing to implement some reasonable regionalization approaches. As the state budget situation remains unsettled, it really is up to local government to find ways to stretch a dollar a little bit further. And again, while those specifics I'm not particularly keen on, if we have a contracted service, there is no reason in the world why we wouldn't be looking to a neighboring town with a similar contracted service and saying, hey, let's see if we can get a better deal for the both of us. And that, I think, is at the crux of what they were trying to get to. So I would throw that out there as something that we should consider as this budget cycle rolls into the next one, especially as the state funding situation remains unsettled. On July 20th, I was proud to represent the town along with Bob and Dick at the ceremonial bill signing for the legislation that will allow for the development of MMCT's casino in East Windsor. It was truly a historic day for the town. About 40 people were standing behind the governor as he signed the ceremonial legislation. And there were about twice that number that were in the audience also there from the press, but supporters as well, as that moved forward to the next step. It was that same day that the governor signed and the chairman signed the applications to amend the compact that was just recently passed by the House and the Senate just yesterday. On July 27th, along with Steve, actually I think all 5 of us were there. We attended a citizen stakeholder meeting sponsored by the Planning and Zoning Commission to continue discussions about transit-oriented development opportunities that we may see as a result of the potential train station in Windsor Locks. While there is certainly some significant potential to redevelop Warehouse Point, it is extremely important to heavily weigh the thoughts and concerns of the property owners who are going to be affected by that. It's important to remember that this really is their home, and these changes will have an impact on them and their property and their perspectives. We need to strongly consider as we make whatever pitch we're able to the state. So that's my report.
I have to comment because we talked about basis points.
Yes.
Do you know what a basis point is?
Yes.
What is it?
So, for example, the stock market today ended, I think the S&P ended up 0.23%. It's the 0.23 represents 23 basis points.
0.23%.
Yes.
And a basis point, you're right, is 1/100th of 1%, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Was that a quiz?
Yeah, no, I didn't know. I didn't know.
I want a sticker, Bob. I want a sticker.
You did well. No, but up until recently, I didn't really know what a basis point was, and so it's not. You described it very well. It's not a lot. It's a 100th of 1%. So it's a very little, and that would describe how the stock market moves in a day, usually.
Yeah. So it's not a lot in terms of an overall percentage, but when you're talking, you know, a quarter of a percentage of $25 million, that's a lot of money. It adds up pretty quickly.
If it's in a day, I'll take it. But if it's in a year, I would be very upset with that.
It's also worth pointing out that that's against the benchmark, which is kind of that's not to say over a flat return. That's over what in our case, we have a blended benchmark for our pensions.
Right.
So if, in that case, if we had done nothing and just thrown the money into the benchmark, we would get X percent.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah.
doing X percent plus.
Well, okay, we'll look at the benchmark a little bit. Good report. Thank you. All right, Dale.
7/26, the Board of Education canceled their meeting. The 27th, we were all here. And then the 28th, as Dick said earlier, I attended the American River Heritage and Connecticut River Conservancy. And they had a great group of people and a lot of votes. I was surprised. So, what do they call it? Paddle and what?
Paddle and picnic.
Paddle
No,
and picnic, that's it.
No, it was actually called Jump
Source to see.
to Source. It was to jump in the river to prove how clean the river is. But the rain that we had the day before, they were a little leery of the current.
Oh, those boats were coming down pretty quick.
Yes, they were.
That's it.
You didn't see the fast part. It was faster upstream.
Oh, yeah.
Good enough for where I
The
stood.
rapids are right there.
So.
Thanks for participation. I'm done.
Dick?
Yeah, I also attended that little meeting we had here, a couple of comments. I got to agree with Steve, they're not going to walk across the river. No, probably not much more than has been. But I'm sure there'll be some shuttle bus service established, especially when the MMCP gets going. I'm sure they're not going to miss it. The real issue and the problem why they're trying to jam this circle down our throats and everything else is the railroad crossing. And they basically seem to be refusing to deal with it, and that's the real problem of the whole thing. It's going to cost a lot of money, so they don't want to do it. There's alternatives for that. One of the alternatives is Elsholm has a bridge on the lower end of their property that the trucks went over for years. It deteriorated, and they don't do it anymore. They've got a crossing over Amtrak and everything. They don't want to hear it. As far as South Water Street, probably ought to leave it alone. It's pretty picturesque. It's an old Rivertown street. It's a little crooked, it's a little narrow, and maybe that keeps the traffic slowed a little bit. Because if we make that thing too pretty, it's going to be a racetrack. And it's close. It's just too narrow. And the other thing is that nobody has brought up, and I'll make sure I do in this hearing on this traffic rotary circle, turnabout, whatever fancy name you want to call it, is it's going to tremendously increase the pollution. Because all the trucks, instead of going right up through Windsor Locks, are going to come all the way over to East Windsor at slow speeds, have to drag themselves around that circle, and then go all the way back to Windsor Locks. Where's it? Plus cars. It's going to increase a lot of pollution, a lot of brake pollution there, stopping, because the bridge has got a slope on it. It's going to be a tight turn. You know, nobody's even looked at that. It's going to increase pollution. Okay, that's enough of that. And the only other thing I did, I attended the East Windsor Permanent Building Commission on the 24th. The floors for the school across they were supposed to be done next week, which means this week. They're having to do the halls completely because they can't match the old tile sufficiently. Concrete repairs are being done. I got a workmanship, we'll leave that for now. The commission is well aware of the workmanship. The middle school roof, unfortunately, the decking is really bad. The contractor actually, some spots blocked it off and won't even let his people walk on it. It's so bad. It's going to be $178,500 extra. The monies were built into the pricing that we originally came for, so we're still, at this point, within budget. Should be okay. We signed the application to go ahead and proceed because there's nothing else you can do. Either that or the roof's going to end up in the hallway or wherever it is. On the windows for the Broadbrook School, the abatement is done. Some of the windows are done. They're waiting on the gym doors, but I see they're in, so I guess they're not waiting on them. Should get done. Hopefully school will open on time. And landscaping, there's another big issue. There's some landscaping problems, but They're on it. Thank you.
Okay, and I really don't have much to say, but I'll just comment on what Dick said. All of what he said is correct. Another problem they have with the railroad crossing is with this Montgomery building that's going to have over 100 apartments. People coming in from Windsor Locks to get to Montgomery building have to come over the tracks and take a left. And that'll jam things up. So you'll have a traffic jam where the railroads, and so I'm not advocating anything. I'm advocating that they solve that problem. That's just another little component to take into account when they're trying to figure out what to do.
You're all right. But Steve was right. They did it. They did it 40 years ago. They took their lefts. The lights were timed for it.
Yeah.
So you could do it. So
yeah, but they're running more trains now. This is their argument.
No,
They're
they're
going to run
running less.
27 trains a day.
And 20-some years ago?
Okay, I don't know.
Well, they were running
They had 2 tracks years ago.
Okay.
2 tracks. They
Trains
were
going
running
both ways in that area.
10, 12 freights a day, which they only run 2 now.
Yeah.
You know, so passenger will be up, but they're fast. But the issue is that crossing could be eliminated and should be eliminated once and for all. It's a dangerous crossing, and yes, there has been accidents there, I remember.
Well, how would you get to the Montgomery building?
Very simply. Put a aqueduct over the canal. It's not used for boats or anything anymore. Go right along the Montgomery building and right up over the railroad into that beautiful circle that they want to build in Windsor Locks.
You put
Done,
a
finished.
bridge over the railroad track. Sure.
Done.
That's better than a rotary.
Anything's better than a rotary. The other options are to take 140 and go right across over the railroad and land up there by the town hall, and then just have the railroad crossing from Montgomery and Dexter's, which they're not going to sit still for. But that would be the ideal thing, would be go right up along the Montgomery, go up over the railroad, right into that circle that they seem to want so bad in Windsor Locks. It would cure the problem once and for all. It's
Okay.
just the state's broke.
That's good. All right, public participation.
Sure. Bob Leach, 39 Church Street, Chairman, Republican, East Windsor Republican Township. So here I give everybody a copy. So anyway, I would like to address some of the comments that were made in the First Selectmen's East Windsor, State of East Windsor report. And some of it's kind of cheeky, but it was just off the cuff, so. Anyway, there was mention of all kinds of changing the bylaws of all the town committees, including the Democrat town committee, and I think they're probably going to agree with most of what I'm going to say. But anyway, any registered Republican may be endorsed by the party, any, just the same as a caucus, simply arrive and be nominated. And this all goes to the comments about, let's see, intrinsic election aberration, which could and should be corrected, as what was stated. Anyway, the bylaws adopted by the Republican Town Committee are fully accepted by our government. In fact, the Secretary of State's office has a basic version of those exact bylaws that we adopted. Selection by committee, which is what we do now. We used to do an open caucus. But we do selection by committee. It's typically done in towns that suffer from good old boy small town politics, where the only people that ever get endorsed are those who are members of special interest groups. And that creates runaway caucuses. The Republican Town Committee had to change its bylaws to protect the process of candidate selection from special interest groups. Special interest groups such as the one the First Selectman is beholden to. Special interest groups do not serve the community, the town, or its people. They exist to serve only their own selfish interests. Of course, party-endorsed candidates typically go on and win an election. That's the whole reason for party affiliation. The only aberration here is a group of people that meet Friday nights on Ellington Road and continue their own agenda. Hello, pot, meet kettle. I find it amazing that the one calling for change to bylaws is the one that belongs to a good old boy special interest group. That's an intrinsic aberration if I ever saw one. Talk about charades, huh? Bob Leach, Chairman, East Windsor Republican Town Committee. If you'd like to address my comments, you may send them to Chairman, P.O. Box 127, East Windsor. I do.
Thank you.
And just to prove your point wrong, as far as candidates being endorsed, and those are the candidates that are gonna run, and those are the candidates that are gonna win. I'm here to tell you that on the primary, my endorsed candidates for selectmen, so you can call me officially in the ring.
Oh, are you gonna, oh, say it again, I didn't catch it. You
I'm
said
going to primary my candidates that I just endorsed for selectmen.
You're gonna primary them?
Yeah. So if anybody's interested, I do have a sign-up sheet. I need 90 signatures from registered Republicans. I'm about halfway there. That's all.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I thought we could run 3 people for selectmen. And we
Yeah.
did get 3 people for
We
selectmen.
have 3 people endorsed, so I'm going to primary because I'm going to get on that Republican ticket and bump one of you off.
Oh, so you're gonna run for selectmen also?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, that's what
So
you're
now we
saying.
have a 4th one.
No, it's going to be 3 because we're going to lose one during the primary.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
It'll be fun.
It's gonna be a pretty good election.
It's good. But I was hoping for a bigger audience, so maybe
Oh, you got it.
YouTube is going to be my
Hopefully
friend
that
tonight.
YouTube's Okay, further public, Dick.
Dick Sherman, 12 Allen Drive, Broadbrook. In the discussion about that traffic circle, there was one thing that everybody's missing. If you've ever been anywhere on this side of the river or the other side of the river and there's an accident on 91, you're gonna have bigger problems because that gets to be full and you don't go anywhere. And unless you want to go to Enfield or Wilson to get across the river. A lot of people should really realize that that is going to be a very, very big mess. So one accident on 91 on either side is going to fill that cotton picking center warehouse point up. And I mean, it's been done many times and everybody knows it.
Couple times a year.
Huh?
Couple times a year it's done.
Oh, yeah. And the part of it is that this is something should be also put in that dissertation that you talk about.
Yeah, I don't know what they do about it, but,
Well, what they do about it is you go up or you go to Springfield and you go to Hartford to cross, because try to cross 291 when there's an accident here. Or try to get down Route 5 when there's an accident in Windsor.
Yep.
You don't do it.
yeah,
Forget it.
yeah. Okay, further? Yes,
I have 3 things.
good.
One of them is the October 7th for the wine tasting is from 1 to 4:30.
Thank you.
That's an easy one. The second one is, what is our status on hiring a wetlands enforcement officer?
No clue.
Cool, thanks.
Do we have applications out? Or do we have a
We
job
did at
posting?
one point, and then,
Oh, wetlands, I refer to it as the zoning enforcement officer.
it's wetlands too. It's
Yeah,
2
no,
people.
he's gonna start, in the beginning of September.
Okay,
We
so
have
we do
one.
have someone.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then the second one was when we were talking about the mill site. You guys had a drawing in front of you, you guys were talking about numbers. We don't understand what you're talking about. If you have that visually to either put on the screen or something, that'd be helpful for next time.
Oh, good, but, yeah, and we'll have it in the minutes, so if you wanna go online, it'll be in the
Right, but
minutes.
just while you guys were talking about it, it
Yeah,
was
makes
first
sense,
picture,
right,
so.
I didn't get it until this afternoon.
Yeah,
But
I heard
could've
that
done
too,
it,
so.
yeah.
Thank you.
And just on that note, Tom Talamini, 23 Race Road, the South Windsor, when they have their council meetings, they have all the agendas and all the supplements for the public to see.
Good idea, too.
And it's a great system, and one of these days I'm gonna get back to that town hall and grab their stuff. at a town council meeting, because I went to one of the meetings, and it was every resolution, everything was on the agenda. It was great. You could follow along, like, simple. And again, like she said, you would understand what you were talking about,
Yeah,
because it would be a picture. So,
good point.
Okay, you're not gonna go with it. I'll try to be brief. Actually, I'm going a little different thing to start off, the rotary. From the sounds of it, it's gonna be a tight rotary. What happens with tandem wheels on a turn? They tear up the road and tear up the tires, do they not? So how often are they gonna be repairing this road based on traffic cars going around this circle? But my other thing is back to my area. I appreciate, and I want to thank the members of the board who are working, trying to do it the right way and get us the land, get us on the tax rolls. To the selectmen who are trying to take the easy way out and just get another nonprofit in there, we've been just basically a sore thumb for East Windsor for going on almost 25 years now. I have, from online, town online, my tax bill that just came out. I have a 1,200 square foot house ranch. I don't own the land, I own the house. My assessment on this house for this tax bill is, where's it on here? $31,980. When I stood here and said my house ain't worth nothing, that proves my house ain't worth nothing.
Wow.
So what I'm asking is, instead of trying to take the easy way out and pawn us off on another nonprofit, so we're in the same situation we've been in for almost 25 years, please take the time and try and work it through. The lawyer's letter had mentioned that it's not impossible for us to have the land. It says in there that it sounds like we do have to have a low to moderate income restriction on the deed, but it doesn't say that. He said, yes, it is a possibility that we could have the land. And I'd appreciate anything you guys could do to try and make it that way instead of just throwing us aside like we've been thrown aside for up number years. And I appreciate you listening. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe Malice, of course, I should start with that. But you know who I am.
Okay, further public participation? Okay, and I'll mention, I haven't heard it mentioned tonight, on August 12th, there's going to be an ice cream social at the Historical Society next to the Osborne House, and be selling $2.50, I guess.
And the book will be out.
Yeah,
and
the
be
book will
signed.
be out.
And ice cream.
free ice cream.
And tours.
Okay, guess we'll end the meeting, go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 1-210B1, negotiations after a couple-minute recess.
Okay, second?
Anybody a second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Moved our deadlines back, so.
Wow, it's like dropping the mics at Beamer now.
That helps them see what you're.
Nice, Joe, you can't get ice cream.
Minutes?
Sure.
All right, great.
But then basically,
All right, so some of these are questions that I had as the meeting was going on, not what I planned to ask you first. Can I have a copy of that?
and you know, we still don't have much of a way to stand up.
We don't know. Right, but UTRC,
That's what I'm wondering, because they got the new,
which they don't want to do, they can sell it if they can, they got a better shot of selling it.
That was an easy
We were
one.
there that time.
Second easy
And
one.
Bill will tell you,
The name
I
of
asked
the
that
guy
vice
was not
president
more
why
sample, I just want to make
and
sure I
they
hear
said,
you right, your name too.
we've done this other places. It's not
William
like we're
Penn.
the only time.
Okay, so is it P-E-N-N?
Remember?
That's what I thought. All right, so,
we're down.
Do you have any statement on the
Yeah, but they're not really-
union complaint that was
Yeah,
filed
they're not just
last
tapping
week,
that.
regarding
They're not just
the
tapping
proposed
that.
change in the pension plans?
Right, they clearly, what I'm saying, remember she said, remember that she said that we've done this in other places, and it was totally acceptable, I'm like, well,
Do
it's not
you feel like
here.
there's been any
I mean, it's
inappropriate
not like it was-
action taken so far by town officials? I mean, they're kind of
But we should get rid of
alleging
two
here.
of the
Is there any basis in that? Or is there a misunderstanding here about just kind of the approach the town used?
I think the town employees that brought this to their union have a point, and the town attorney really presented first negotiation point for the pension board, and they're going to talk at this.
I'm going to take your word here because you're substantially more educated than us.
All right, thank you very
I
much.
thought you forgot about
You
it.
can't, LOB, you can't.
Yeah.
Anywhere where legislators have scheduled meetings.
But I don't count. We as local officials don't have that same protection.